The Power answer all of our questions and plenty more, plus the high-flying Lions into second place. All that and more from the start of round 11, plus the key moments from round 10 that finished last night. But Kane Corns, this is one of the games of the season today at Adelaide Oval. The Power 9-2. Ken's flying. They're into the 8. They're going to be playing finals. How good's this?
Just what a game of footy it was. I think footy needed this. The crowd was amazing. There's only 10,000 there, but they made some noise. And Port Adelaide, you can really trust now. This style of game is stacking up. This is how you win finals. You turn the footy over in your front half and then you go back and score. Now, they are doing that better than any team in the competition. And they were challenged tonight and they came out in the last quarter and did this. This set up by their second-year sensation, Zach Butters, who's in rare form. Robbie Gray's back in form. A welcome, game from him tonight. He was awesome. And this pressure, Richmond just couldn't cope. So I know the scoreline wasn't as dominant as what the stats looked like, but this was a belting. Plus 31 in inside 50s, 19 in clearances, 45 in contested possessions. And what a performance.
We asked the question a couple of weeks ago, would the Power drop away like they have in the last few years? They looked like bound for finals in the last couple of seasons. But Richmond, in that last quarter, they almost played into the Port Adelaide Footy Club's hands. This is the key moment with 14 minutes on the clock in the final term. You can see the score there. The Power only lead it by 11 points. And Josh Caddy, a double brain fade from the Tigers, costs a simple goal.
I haven't seen a 100-metre penalty for a while, and that was in vogue when that rule first came in. But it's one of the stupidest things we've seen on the field from a senior player this year. And from that moment, basically, that sealed the game for Port Adelaide. So you could see the frustration from Damien Hardwick, and he's really critical of his players. If you're a lip reader out there, he wasn't too fond of what Josh did, and rightly so. But yeah, Port Adelaide were just too strong in those key moments tonight as we take a look at Dimmer's frustration in that moment. And if you're a lip reader, Mitch, he wasn't too pleased.
Well, Josh Caddy didn't touch the ball in the last quarter, neither did Jack Rewalt. Kane Lambert 1 disposal, and Dustin Martin just the 3 touches in the final term. But we're going to take a look at some of their defensive efforts. And the Power, they were on fire early, and you wanted to point these two out.
Well, this is a real concern if I'm Richmond. This is just a massive lapse in concentration. That's Zach Butters there. He's in his forward 50. Port Adelaide have got the ball and no one wants to go anywhere near him. This is one of the hottest players in the competition, so that was really poor. And then this stoppage, Ollie winds up against Pickett. This is Port Adelaide's forward 50 stoppage player. How easy is that? So if I'm Damien Hardwick, there's 2 goals that Richmond should not have got. And for such a strong defensive side, that is a sign that you're not as switched on as what you have been in the last 3 years.
Just from those 2 clips, started in day, ended in night. Not a bad, prototype for the Twilight Grand Final. Maybe something the AFL can consider from today's game. Now, the 2 ruckmen, the Power went in for the first time this season. Lycett mostly ruck, Laddams mostly forward, and Kane, it seemed to work.
Yeah, it did. And this is a young player who has massive raps on him and has done for a while. Now, he's under 10 games, but he's the informed ruckman at Port Adelaide. And I've been waiting for them to go for 2. They decided to drop Justin West off and do this. But this performance from Laddams is his best game at the level. And this is what will please Ken Hinkley, his ability to go forward and take a mark. So if you're going to play 2 ruckmen, like St Kilda do with Ryder and Marshall, one of them has to go forward and be able to catch the footy. So a sensational performance from him. I think Ken will be really pleased with how this played out. And when you look at the numbers, plus 19 in clearances, and he's doing this around the ground, he's got a big future. And
they kept Noah Bolter and Dylan Grimes accountable as well. They weren't able to take off and peel off and take easy marks. Charlie Dixon, second now into the Coleman medal, 1 behind Josh Kennedy. To the Gabba next, the Lions, they're 8-3. Only 4 times in their existence they've done it to start the season. The other 3, they made the grand final, and 5 goals to Eric Hipwood. The first time he's kicked multiple goals since round 1.
It's probably been their weakness, hasn't it? It's been the thing that we've been a little bit hesitant about Brisbane, and can they win it this year? It's their forward line, and just their forwards probably haven't fired as well as they probably can on potential. So for him to kick straight tonight, for him to have the influence that he did, but we know he's a potential star of the game, Eric Hipwood. So it was great reward for him. He can lead up, he can play outside 50, he's also damaging inside 50. So massive confidence boost for him, and what a response it was from the Lions up against a side that at their best can be good, but we know the Western Bulldogs at their worst are about as bad as anyone in the competition. So concerns for Luke Beveridge, but a great response from the Lions after that defeat against Richmond not that long ago.
We praised Tim English only a couple of weeks ago. He was smashed tonight by Oscar McInerney, not a recognised ruckman by any stretch. So a big watch to see how Tim English bounces back. Now, Kane, all the Lions fans had their hearts in their mouth with this one. Charlie Cameron late in the game, awkward landing on his left knee. Looked horrible at the time. Incredibly, they went off the ground, did a few run-throughs, strapped him up, and strange decision to throw him back on onto the ground with the game pretty much sewn up.
It was hard to watch. I thought that was year over for Charlie Cameron. That looked like an ACL with that hyperextension. He was in so much pain. So as you said, they strap him on. He comes back on. He's still clearly limping. Like, it wasn't moving as freely as what we know Charlie Cameron. So why they opted to do that, I've got no idea. The game was in the balance. Chris Fagan, the coach, is on the interchange bench. So it's not as if it would have gone over his head. It just needed a calm person to say, look, the game's done. We're going to win. We've got games in hand. Just relax. And if we have to give you this game off and maybe a week or two to get right, your best work's going to be needed at the end of the season, not in the game in the last 5 minutes, which we'd already won.
And Chris Fagan said post-game, hopeful of no structural damage, but he will have to go for scans. Now, Callum Archie started in defence. He was brought to the club as a defender, thrown forward tonight. He showed us he can take a nice hanger on the goal line.
I love the way that they've built this side. David Noble needs a lot of credit for this. So what a hanger that was. And when there's been some talk about the state of the game and it's poor, I mean, those people just got a nice reminder that our game is great, and those highlights like that. So Archie kicked a couple, moved forward 10 possessions. He had 4 score involvements. And as you said, he's been training all summer down back. So to do that was a massive boost for them. But just once again, on their recruiting, so not the players that they've drafted, we know McCluggage and Berry and Hipwood and all of them, but the players that they've brought in, like Lyons, Ellis Yeoman's playing a role, Archie's playing a role as well. So they've built a wonderful list.
Lyons, Zorko and Neil combined for 29 clearances. You think Lachie Neale, 36 touches himself, is every chance to bag the 3 Brownlow votes again. It's incredible. Now, they're the 2 games from round 11 to date. Let's have a look at the results from round 10. We have to go back to Monday night, the Power beating the Dogs. The Tigers, they did get a win back in round 10. Geelong over North Melbourne. The D's, we'll get to that game in just a moment because that's a crucial match we need to discuss. And Collingwood Kane got through by the skin of their teeth.
Yeah, they did. And the Saints are on fire as well. They're dropped out of second position, but they got a game in hand, of course, with Brisbane's win tonight. And GWS, I thought last night was a really brave win from the Giants last night. They were really challenged. And I thought they won a different way. They didn't rely on skill and superstars. They had to dig in, and it was a terrific performance from the Giants.
More on that in just a moment. But the big talking points have been these staging incidents. Tom Papley back on Thursday received $500 for this. He's the only player this season to be done for staging. What did you make of that?
Well, my issue is that that's a free kick. So the umpire's paid a free kick for that. It shouldn't be a free kick. So the only way that we're going to get rid of this is to not pay free kicks. So all 3 we're going to show the umpires have paid a free kick. They wouldn't have got the free kick if the contact wasn't exaggerated like Callum Ward did there. Look, I love Ward's attack on the footy. I didn't love the extra layers that he put on it and the flop at the end of it. So not as bad as Papley's, but still shouldn't have been rewarded for a free kick. And even this one from Woodcock, not as bad, but that's not a free kick if he doesn't flop and throw his head back and the umpire's rewarded. So when they keep blowing the whistle and paying free kicks, players will keep doing it.
Shocking to hear Callum Ward speak today on 3AW, revealing that he's received death threats after that, obviously costing, or what Essendon fans think cost them the game, even though the Giants were already ahead at that time. Essendon tonight investigating to see if that person that issued that message is, of course, an Essendon member. So watch this space on that one. Now, we can't lose sight on the fact that the Bombers blew a 29-point lead in this one. Third quarter, they led it. And 2, moments they'd like back here. Firstly, starting with Anthony McDonald, Tip and Woody.
Yeah, really strange one here. He had one at the same end, set shot, beautiful. Did not look like missing. So would you rather Tipper there or would you rather McKernan from that angle? We know what that would be. So it needed some leadership for someone to go over at Dylan Shield and say, just relax, go back, take your 20 seconds, have your set shot. And then this from McKenna. So this is the build up to it. A bit of byplay with Heath Shaw. Heath gave away a free kick. Now the ball turns over and it comes back the other way. McKenna's still clearly frustrated from the treatment from Heath Shaw. As Heath takes a mark here, you'll see the extra contact, 50 metres paid. So take these 2 incidents out, there's a couple of goals, and Essendon will probably win the game. So significant brain fades when the game was on the line.
You can almost see the McKenna one there when the ball was in midair, what he was going to do. And the Giants, it almost felt like they won a different way, as you mentioned. That hard, aggressive forward pressure. They entered the game only averaging 7 forward 50 tackles. They had 22 on the night. That's a phenomenal number.
Yeah, they did, and their last quarter was sensational. So 15-4 inside 50s in the last quarter. You mentioned the tackling. Nothing came easy for them, I didn't think, on this night. Now, this was one that Canelio would like to have back. He sprinted over. It should have been Jerry McCameron's kick, but this was it. So this was not relying on their talent, their skill, their speed. It was slippery. It was wet conditions, and they had to dig in. So the last quarter, 4 goals to 1 of those inside 50s I mentioned. I thought it was a significant performance from the Giants. They were clearly worried at halftime. You don't send Phil Davis to full forward if you're not panicked with the way the game's playing out. So for them to get that win a different way, as I said, it was a monumental moment for them in the season.
And it's 3 on the trot now for the Giants, so they're going well after we questioned them a couple of weeks ago. Now, St Kilda Gold Coast, this is a fantastic game as well. The Saints, they're 7-3, their best start to a season since 2010. We wanted to look at Hunter Clark, a couple of key efforts for him in the final 5 minutes.
Just composed, isn't he? And the thing that I love about St Kilda is the way that they have also built their list, but not at the expense of the younger players like Hunter Clark coming in. So just look at this, his ball use off half-back, he's tough. He's a great interceptor, which is the way that the modern footy is played back there, and he's setting them up. And this man has been just electric. No doubt the recruit of the year, Dan Butler, with his 4 goals. And once again, probably looking every bit like the All-Australian forward pocket. So I think Ken Hinkley's the coach of the year, but I'd have Brett Ratton pretty close behind in second.
Shout out to all those coaches who have been given the dumping previously. Maybe Brett Ratton can give them a bit of hope for years to come. Now, back to Wednesday night. The Crows, they're zipping 10 now in the season. Melbourne just had to win this game. This is Simon Goodwin speaking post-match. Don't forget, this is a coach who's just got the 4 points. Pretty aggrieved at the handling of Max Gawn, who went in with a shoulder injury.
Yeah, he gets a lot of attention, Max. And we continually speak to the various powers to be about the attention he gets, and he gets clearly targeted around just getting to a stoppage. And hopefully we'll start to get some protection at some stage.
So he went into this game, saw Kane. He's not playing tomorrow's game. The Demons take on North Melbourne. Take us through some of these incidents, because it's clear the Crows had one thing in mind.
Yeah, I thought it was disgraceful when we highlight Jake Carlisle for targeting an injured player and he gets a fine and everyone's outraged by it. This is far worse. This is premeditated. This is repetitive. This is a team attack, and we're seeing mainly Ned McHenry. I mean, not even looking at the ball. Now, Ned's got to pull his head in. He's a second-year player who's achieved nothing in the game, and Max Gawn probably doesn't even know who Ned McHenry is, but he went out of his way to target Max Gawn off the ball, and there is nothing that Max can do about it. So the Crows clearly knew he had a sore shoulder, similar to Dane Rampy coming into that game against Essendon with a broken hand, and they went after him. And mainly it was Taylor Walker and Ned McHenry, as we're seeing here. Look how far away the ball is. This is 100 metres off the ball. This is repetitive, and this is a targeted attack. And while the AFL haven't done anything about this, particularly when some of these incidents we are going to see happen right in front of the eyes of the umpire, including that one there where Gawn was dropped by McHenry, and the umpire looked at it, he saw it, I was there, I watched him look at it and opted not to pay a free kick. And now Max Gawn is out of this game tomorrow because of that treatment. So I'm amazed that Adelaide got off with no sanction for that.
And McHenry's a first-round kid. He's a first-round pick. He shouldn't be having to worry about these things. He should be worrying about his talent, but obviously the Crows had other things in mind. Now, the big one out of this game that might have slipped under the radar was Alex Neil-Bullen. 4 weeks, Kane, for this one, deemed severe impact, high contact, of course, on Will Hamill. It's a big sanction to pay for a quarter of the season.
I thought it was harsh. I thought 2 weeks would have been about fair for this. I didn't think there was any malice behind this. Now, clearly, technique is poor, but in a season where Sean Burgoyne does one on Patrick Dangerfield, which I thought was more severe. Yes, Dangerfield didn't suffer concussion, but he got off and the AFL cracked down on it. So clearly it's a massive statement from the AFL. No one wants to see that. We hope Will Hamill recovers well. But 4 weeks in a 17-game season for an incident that I didn't think had any malice, I thought he was harshly dealt with.
7 games to go for the Crows now. 3 of those against teams outside the 8. So the Dogs, Hawthorn and Carlton. How many of those, or if at all, are they winning?
Well, I think they'd probably win one for the rest of the year. I would maybe give them one. I think what might happen is a team leading into the finals will rest a significant amount of players, not dissimilar to what Ross Lyon did back a few years ago when he rested 13 players for the last round of the season. So I would think that's the Crows' only hope. But It's the worst AFL side that I've ever seen. So many concerns at Adelaide, and they've just got to get this rebuild right in terms of the picks that they've got, which isn't going to be easy because no one's seen many of these kids play, and also the players that they need to trade in to get some experience to help the youth that they've got at the moment.
Well, the Pies themselves are going to have to start filtering through their list. 3 more injuries on Thursday against the Swans. Quainer with that gash to his shin. Hoskin Elliott with his knee, and Adam Treloar with his hamstring. And they've got some concerns in the front half. They haven't kicked 10 goals or more in a game since round 3, Kane. It's starting to mount up.
It is, yeah. So issues with scoring, and that pressure does build up. Now, it's a little bit different. I mean, these are the entries. So they had plus 17 inside 50s, and they dominated all the stats. They couldn't score. Now, it's a bigger issue when you kick 6 goals 14. I mean, if that's 14 goals 6, we're probably not showing this and highlighting their inability to score. But it's an issue, as you said, that has been there since round 3, and they haven't been able to address it. So small forward line, they've got to really work on these entries, because in modern football, that just rarely works unless you've got a big Charlie Dixon down there, which Collingwood don't. That's more the entry. Now, the execution was poor, but they've just got to be a little bit more crafty with the way they're going inside 50. But I think the draw is going to really help them. Adelaide, then Melbourne after that Sydney game. So they'll probably sit 7-4, and hopefully they get some soldiers back towards the finals.
The other game on Wednesday, Geelong getting the points over North Melbourne. They were able to do so with Paddy Dangerfield playing at full forward. So rest him essentially through that game, and then nurse him through to Monday. So he should be cherry ripe as we look ahead to the rest of the round. The Cats play St Kilda. That'll be a cracker on Monday. Tomorrow, West Coast and Carlton. No Jeremy McGovern for a 3rd consecutive week. And we spoke about Max Gawn. Jack Viney out with concussion. Expecting Jake Lever to captain the Demons against the Roos.
Yeah, no Braden Proofs either for Melbourne. So they're just going to go with Luke Jackson in his first year of footy. So that'll be a one for Todd Goldstein to watch, and he should dominate that contest. Can't wait for that St Kilda and Geelong game. Geelong have really impressed me this year. And just for Carlton, they need to show something. They need to show something tomorrow, because if they lose and lose poorly, it is season over. Tuesday night, we'll see Collingwood come to Adelaide Oval and take on the winless Crows, and then Gold Coast and Essendon. Loser of that game can kiss finals goodbye.
And Gold Coast, 5 of their last 6 they've lost. A bit of a tale continuing from what we've seen in the last couple of years. Now, it can't be all doom and gloom for the Pies. We spoke about their lack of scoring, but Kane, this man with the famous surname, stepped up when it mattered most.
No, what a moment it was. Just some of the highlights and individual efforts this round have been just terrific. Now, for me, that is the goal of the round. That's just with a wet ball, slippery conditions, the gather, the ability to give himself some space, and the execution of that. We've seen it before, and the Dacos name is one of the most famous names in football. And he's going to be an exceptional footballer, because you see his improvement, like game on game, he just improves so much. So he's got 250 games written all over him.
Dacos v Corns family. Who would win the goal kicking challenge?
No, Dacos. I'm not sure anyone. The only one maybe is Ablett v Dacos would be a good contest.
Oh, I'd love to see that. All right, Kane Corns. We'll see you same time, same place here on the Round So Far next week.
See you next week, Mitch.